Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Coping Madmen podcast.
You couldn't have gotten that more wrong.
I've honestly been thinking about, a worse way to butcher our intro than I did in episode 2.
I'm pretty sure we've done that every episode at this point. Not that there's a lot.
No, episode 1, you got it right. Episode 2, I got it wrong.
No, we butchered it at the end of episode 1, remember?
Oh shit, we did.
We did. Right, so
Speaking of butchering things, the first topic we have down today
is mic fright.
Yeah, indeed. Being scared to talk in front of the microphone.
Mm-hmm. You think
this
third time's the charm, we're in front of the mic, we would have this, this would be so easy for us.
Wait.
It's not.
Wait. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Are you talking about Mike or the microphone? Are we scared of Mike?
Who's Mike?
Mike, the most popular male name between the years of 2012 and 2019.
Shit. Yeah, Mike's in our room right now. We're talking to him.
Hey, Mike!
Through him to you guys. Hi, Mike. This is a really sad bit.
Poor Mike, he doesn't have any friends.
Mike's hooked up to our computer right now. He doesn't speak much, but
Yeah.
he helps us out.
He helps us out a bit.
Okay.
He helps us out with this bit. Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah, I'm afraid of the mic even more so now. So why is getting in front of the mic so scary, Tommy?
I'm not really sure. There's nothing particularly intimidating about it. It's just kind of awkward, standing here and trying to project like you're in front of a crowd of people, and there's just this strange black fuzzy device staring back at you, you know?
Right.
Also, we're not professionals at this.
No,
so
not in the slightest.
There's
if you guys couldn't tell that by now.
Yeah, look at the view count. We're not professionals.
Not in the slightest.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's hard to conjure up any kind of confidence or wherewithal about the situation, you know?
Do you feel like let's say you were back in high school and you were in band or whatever and you had to perform on stage. Let's say there's probably about 200 members of either the school or their families
I fucking
in the
killed
auditorium.
I fucking killed it. I never had to play in band, but anytime I was in front of a crowd, I fucking killed it. I went all out. I had props and one-liners and keynotes prepared. No, I fucking killed it.
So that kind of answers my question. What I was going to ask was, do you find this easier, or would you find going up on a stage like that easier?
I could easily talk in front of 100 people easier than I can do what we're doing right now.
Is there any reason in particular why you feel that way? Is it just because of the funny little black fuzzy device right in front of us?
No, it's just
the ambiguity of the internet. You don't really know who your crowd is.
Yeah,
it could be no one. You could be talking in an empty room. You could be talking to a crowd of 1 million people.
We are screaming into the void right now. As of yet, no one has seen this.
No one.
Or episode 1, which is out now, by the way, on anywhere podcasts can be found. Throwing up hand signs that you can't see because
roughly
this is
You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on other services that we're getting on, definitely, for sure. But right now, we are for sure on Spotify. So hopefully you're listening to us on there, because I don't know where else you'd find us right now.
If you have hacked into our computer to find this episode, thank you for your dedication. We need more people like you.
Get on our team. Handle our social media. It would be funny. I think.
Fucking become a co-host at this point. You hacked in.
We'll talk to you.
We'll talk to you. Come on.
Super chill.
Anyway, Trevor, this was actually your suggestion, if you remember.
Yes, I do. But I thought I'd ask your opinion first.
Fair enough. What's tricky about getting in front of the mic for you?
I kind of have a fear of both, when I'm getting on a live stage and when I'm in front of the recording device. The thing is that it's for different reasons in each instance. When I'm in front of an audience, it feels like a slip-up is a lot more noticeable, but at the same time, there's people that I can read the reactions of, and it makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of read the tone of the room and say if I'm performing or something. I can kind of alter it to
Yeah,
match that tone.
there's a kind of energy you can read with a crowd of people, you know.
Right,
Like
you can kind of
you can
slurp
match
that up
that.
and be like, okay, we're on the same wavelength now. When you're in front of a mic, it can be easier because there's no one looking at you. But the thing is, the harshest critic will always be yourself.
Oh yeah, we go through and we edit these, right? And
Absolute pain.
oh
agony.
my god.
I hate listening to myself, and I think any other like content creator can easily like resonate with that.
It sounds like
so
such
much.
a pretentious douchebag. My voice is so grating. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how I have any friends or meaningful relationships or anything. Like, honestly, if my self-critic was in charge of, like, the fate of me, I would be dead or homeless or both right now.
That's a little much. I just say, yeah, I kind of sound like a kid, and at times I don't really contribute a lot to the discussion. I'm trying to get better at that. I actually have some coffee with me today, so doing a lot better than I did episode 1. But
To clarify, I am the coffee man. I always have coffee. It's just
he is the coffee man.
this guy brought coffee along. Oh shit. This is actually a good time to mention. We got an art commission for our like cover photo.
Yeah, we have like actual art now.
Yeah.
So like it
I mean, to anyone listening, it would have looked like we had it since episode 1, but
right. It actually took a while, like
It
a
did.
few weeks to get a hold of it. The alternative was not as great.
the alternative was
The
made...
alternative was essentially a shit post, and it was a really
It was
funny one that I
pretty good.
made. I was like half serious about using it, but only because I was so desperate to get the first episode out that I was like, I think it'd be okay for like
we could
2
use
episodes.
it for a minute.
We could use it for a minute.
We
No,
probably could have gotten away with it, but what we have now is so much more
so
professional.
much better. It actually looks like an image.
Do you
that
think we should
is
tell
respectful.
people like which voice is which face?
I think they could probably figure that out.
You think so? I'm the coffee man. He's the mic guy. He's the anime character holding the microphone. I am the creepy man staring longingly into a coffee cup.
Yeah, I don't think you could have laid it out any more simply than that. They could be blind though.
They could be blind. If you're blind, my heart goes out to you. Thank you for listening to the podcast.
Yeah, you still got ears.
You still
You
got
can listen
ears.
to us.
And buy our merch.
We don't have merch.
Shut the fuck up. We will eventually. We need those blind bucks.
Okay, so we should go back to our topic, right?
Sure.
Mike Fright. So,
Mike Fright.
again, being in front of a crowd is much less stressful when you can read them. When you're in front of a mic, all you can do is speak into it until you're done and listen over your own voice. And to an extent, that can be kind of degrading because you're going to listen to that and you're going to have negative thoughts about it. You, like 99% of people don't just record something, be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. Nothing needed to be done to it," and they just hit upload.
I would love to meet someone with like a high enough image of themselves to think, man, my voice sounds fucking great. I sound sexy when I listen to myself. Chase.
Chase.
Poor Chase.
Damn, he's already been called out like twice. Feel bad for the guy.
No, we edited the first call out, I think.
No, there's still some, I believe. You guys should listen to episode 1 and remind us.
Tell us if we called Chase out of nowhere.
Did we call out Chase? Please let us know. But yeah, being in front of a screen with this microphone.
We could put the underpants back up.
be
Do you
rough.
think that would help?
No, I've moved on past the underpants.
We took the
Training
underpants
wheels.
off of the monitor, by the way. It is now staring at us fully in the nude.
It's lost so much character.
It kind of has, if I'm being honest. I miss the underpants.
I do too, kind of. Not really.
Did the underpants help get like? What's the best remedy for Mike Fright? You think? You think it's just doing it?
I think it's doing it enough. You kind of have to just get used to it.
I know, cause some background info. When we went to record episode 2, we actually scrapped the first episode 2 and had to record a second one.
We had so little faith in the first recording that we completely, like, we still have the file, but it's never being uploaded. At least not as an actual episode.
We might do a special if like this blows up, but
We'll put it on the sideline. It's sitting in some unknown folder, hidden away. never to be reopened.
Isn't it under episode 2 but stinky?
Episode 2, but bad.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I wasn't feeling very verbose that day. I was exhausted.
Verbose. Evidently, you're feeling verbose today.
Sorry, I didn't call it stinky. That's too many letters.
Too many letters. Bad.
Okay, well, I think we pretty much covered that first topic pretty well. So
yeah, probably. Just real quick, I'd like to mention that if you take kind of like a ripping a Band-Aid off approach to things, you can usually get over them.
Yeah.
Like Mike Fright or like anything else in life, if you just kind of have a fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, walking on stage, playing the first note or saying the first few words is the hardest part. Once you get the ball rolling, it's just motion at that point.
Something about putting your foot in the door.
Yep. It's hitting the record button and getting 15 seconds in. That's the hardest part of this.
Yeah.
Once you get past that, it's like, yeah, we're chilling. We're chilling.
You
We're
have
just
to deal
talking
with
here.
me butchering the intro we rehearsed.
Every fucking time.
It's so fun.
Except for first, but kind of. You
did
butchered the outro.
You did the first intro. I think I'm gonna do the intro from now on, though. I like doing it. We're the Coping Madmen podcast.
Sure. You'll have to fit. That's a lot of creative names you're gonna have to come up with because you can't butcher it the same way every time.
I will dedicate a section of my notebook
To specific names that you can insert instead of Complimentary Mania.
Yes, trademark TM.
It's disgusting. Moving on. So
All right.
this was a bit that I had talked about a couple weeks ago. I think we were just sitting around in my place joking, and we got onto the topic of how the Death Note affected like world history.
Yeah, like so okay, so first off, context. Death Note. It's an anime. It's a very prevalent anime. It's known for being really good in the first half and kind of meh in the last.
Yeah.
But
It's
basically, there's a
good.
notebook. You can write a name down in it, and if you're picturing a face of a person, that person will die however you specify. And if you don't specify, they die of a heart attack. And I thought, wow, it's like some really clever world building if you could solve a bunch of like murders and conspiracy theories with the Death Note in the canon of the Death Note. So, like, how did, what was his name? Ronald Reagan. Where did the second bullet come from? The Death Note, obviously.
Death Note shot it.
Yeah, not shot it, but you know what I mean. Like, why did Hitler kill himself? The Death Note, obviously.
Obviously, he wasn't in fear of being captured by the army.
No, it was the Death Note.
It was the Death Note.
Someone got a hold of the Death Note, and they were like, I will end World War II. And that's got to be what happened in Death Note canon.
The thing is, we don't get a lot of actual context on it, so it's really fun to just imagine, like, because they don't actually, like, they don't explain the history of the Death Note world very well. They just explain, like, how the Shinigami work and how the Death Note works, Light Yagami, talking to Ryuk, stuff like that.
The Shinigami and Ryuk are like these big shadow demons that follow you around once you touch a Death Note.
Yeah.
They kind of usually write people's names in the Death Note when it's like their time to die.
They're supposed to be, like, essentially the Grim Reapers of the world.
Yeah. They're Japanese psychonaut. Psychonaut's the word.
Yeah.
Or is it psychopomp?
I'm not sure. I think you were right on Psychonaut.
Okay, yeah. They're Japanese psychonauts. Basically, that's a fancy word for a mythological being that basically escorts you to the underworld, brings about your death.
That also, a lot of where my points came up in the discussion is who would also be Shinigami. Because, as the lore states, if you are to use a Death Note as a human being, when you die, you yourself turn into a Shinigami.
Well, it's never quite confirmed in the canon. It says you can't go to heaven or hell. So
You go to the Shinigami realm. Whether you turn into a Shinigami or not,
it's up for reader interpretation, but it's like heavily implied because there's nothing but Shinigami in that realm.
Essentially, you just rot away for thousands of years and you turn into one of them. Like, it's essentially just limbo.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's cool.
Who do you think ended up as a Shinigami?
Hitler.
Real world. Hitler. Wait, Hitler wrote his own name in the Death Note?
Yeah, think about it. bro wanted ultimate power, right?
Why didn't
So
he just like scribble all the Jews in it? If Hitler had the Death Note,
That's probably what happened, bro.
no, you don't write death by gas chamber.
Bro was creative. He really wanted to, like, you know, lore. I'm really stretching this here, but yeah, Hitler lore. So I
thought half the point was like some dude found the Death Note and was like, "I'm gonna end World War II," and wrote Adolf Hitler's name in it, and that's like the in lore explanation.
Well, the thing is, who would be the guy?
It doesn't matter. Literally anyone who's combating the Nazis, and even probably a couple of the Nazis, would have been like, I can end World War II just by writing one man's name in there. I'll take that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Who else would be up there in the Shinigami realm as a Shinigami?
Probably some really sketchy FBI agents, like Men in Black style, like Area 51 FBI agents.
Oh my god, imagine if, like, the FBI agents and, like, the people they're hunting end up swapping death notes back and forth, so they like one of those turned FBI agents are just vibing up there in the Shinigami realm, and then just, like, one of the terrorists they killed just ends up there and he's like, hey, what's up? He's like, shit, you're dead too?
Well, so it's not the people written in the Death Note that do that. Everyone's name gets written in the Death Note. It's just the people that write in the Death Note.
Well,
end
yeah,
up as
I'm
Shinigami.
saying in the off chance a terrorist gets a hold of the Death Note and then proceeds.
Okay.
I think we're getting too controversial here, because for a second I thought, that's how 9/11 happened. I was like,
Shut the
no,
fuck up.
that's
Shut the
bad.
fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Look, we can joke about Hitler because the wounds aren't as fresh. I hope. As of time of recording, the wounds aren't as fresh.
The wounds aren't as fresh, but
9/11, it's still pretty recent in a lot of people's memory. Let's hold off on 9/11 Death Note jokes. Are there any other pieces of media that work like that, where like historical events or mysteries work as kind of clever, like sections of world building?
think of any popular assassination
Yeah.
that has gone unsolved. That probably could have been associated with the Shinigami and the Death Note.
Yeah. You could probably explain it with all kinds of magic systems too. Like if it was Harry Potter, a wizard did it. Easy.
For real. Easy.
Like you could actually probably you could write a whole fanfic where it's just, hey, a wizard did it.
Yeah. This is getting cut out.
This is getting cut out?
This specific part.
Why this specific part?
Because I'm trying to think.
Okay, fair enough. 2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. This part will get cut out, baby.
You want to just move on to the next topic?
Say that into the mic.
All right, I think we're going to move on to the next topic here. So, you wanted to discuss the duality of intuition and luck.
Duality is a strong word. More or less the relationship. Because a thought occurred to me the other day. Intuition is a skill. Like, it is a very, like, skill-intensive act to be able to intuit something about anyone or anything. But I don't think you can actually utilize, like, intuition as a skill without being at least a little lucky.
I mean,
like how intuition works is like you'll analyze something about your surroundings, and your subconscious dash conscious kind of generates an idea or a premonition, and you're just like, that's probably right. Like intuition is, you played poker with this guy one time and he gave you sketchy vibes and you don't want to talk to him again. And I don't think intuition works without at least some luck, is really what I wanted to talk about.
I mean, essentially, intuition is just pre-thought. It's the way of reacting without taking the time to react, right?
Kind of. It's also kind of like analyzing pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Like, oftentimes people will think they're very intuitive, and really they just, like, have a tendency to notice patterns. And I mean, it's the same thing, but, like, oftentimes the supernatural or the spiritual get involved with intuition, and it's generally more clinical and scientific than that, but...
Yeah, Um, why do you think luck has anything to do with intuition?
Well, I mean, so like you're constantly noticing like a million things at once, and your brain filters out what it thinks is the important bits and sort of decides, hey, I'm going to remember these and tell you about these, right?
Right.
So there's already a degree in luck in that. Like, remembering and knowing what's right is generally, it can be a skill, but generally it's a very luck intensive exercise.
Remembering things that are right.
Remembering things correctly is
Remembering things correctly.
I think a better way to put it. So remembering the like specific details correctly about circumstances you've been in, and then applying those details before some sort of event happens, intuiting something, I think requires a degree of luck to pull off.
Well, the luck is entirely dependent on the event itself.
The luck's dependent on the event itself. It's dependent on what kind of stimuli you recognize correlates with a particular event, and if that guess is correct, because a bunch of intuition is just guessing. It's kind of like half subconscious guessing,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine that that's a skill you can really fully utilize without being at least a little lucky, so to speak. Because to be able to accurately guess, you also need to be a little lucky.
I mean, yeah. No matter how good your intuition is, let's say you go to a poker table, it's random. You're not going to be able to just say, I know exactly what, like, let's say, okay, you're going to a roulette table. You've got that ball that spins around, right? I know, exactly what number and, like, color this is going to land on. You just won't.
Well,
intuition won't get you through that.
So, like, there are some mathematicians that could probably tell you that, if they had, like, a bunch of time to calculate the trajectory of the ball or whatnot.
Right.
And there are people that have worked at a casino a long time that probably will tell you, it's mostly random, but like there's maybe a slight slant, so usually it lands more on this side of the table, so bet over there. And then there are people that are like really obsessed with numbers, so they'll be like, it'll land on 7. It will land on 7.
And they'll just say it, and sometimes they're right. But that's more luck based
that's
than intuition.
That's way more luck based than intuition. I'm more thinking like with people, right? Like generally they say a first impression's a lot, but like half of a first impression is intuition, right?
Yeah.
Like you get bad vibes from a person if they don't have a firm handshake when you meet them.
Right. Just little quirks that they have. You'll
Yeah.
notice instantly, and you'll draw conclusions based off of those as to what kind of a person they are.
Right. And if you're unlucky, you'll be wrong about those conclusions. And
You'll come off as the sussy baka.
indeed. And if you're lucky, you'll come off as a bussy saka. Wait, no.
I kind of want to be unlucky now.
Just shut the fuck up.
So, are there any other situations that you would be able to apply this sort of comparison outside of people? Like actual events in the world outside, social interactions, I should say.
Sure. A lot of people are very intuitive drivers, for instance. Like when they're driving, they just kind of turn on autopilot and get where they're going. And I've talked to people about this, and that's like a very intuitive process. And I think you probably need a degree of luck to do that without like getting in a wreck or getting
real.
lost.
Especially during winter, like
The signs they hang around factories read complacency kills, and what is turning on quote unquote autopilot but just becoming very complacent. Like sort of giving yourself to like the flow state, as it were, and just hoping you end up where you've gone 100 times before. It's a very intuitive process, and to a degree, I think that requires some luck.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing the same thing every day at like a factory or something, you're going to get complacent with it regardless of those signs because you're going to get used to the process. You're going to do it as well as you can.
I think probably the best example of this principle in work is stockbrokers. They are, professional guessers? Like, they know how stock works and, like, what makes money a little better than the average person. But just a little bit. Like, the variance for a random person buying stock and a stockbroker buying stock is really, really slim. but the stockbroker's like just better enough that some people still go through stockbrokers, which is sketchy, but everyone's got to eat. Stockbrokers, it's a good profession, so I've been told. So they go through stockbrokers. I think that's probably the best example of it because it is such a heavy combination of both intuition and luck. I can't see the intuition skill being at all useful unless the stockbroker is also like at least a little lucky.
You're essentially guessing what, like, out of thousands of quote unquote lotteries to invest money into. You know, and see what gives you back the most consistent return.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but yes, essentially.
I mean, I'm no stockbroker myself, but I mean...
this is not financial advice. We are in no way qualified to provide financial advice. Thank you, lawyers.
Yeah. So, basically, in a way, you're gambling money.
Yeah,
big air quotes.
It's pretty close to gambling, yeah. I think it's a really fascinating concept, personally.
I think it's pretty cool. I haven't really noticed it that much in, like... As of recent, I haven't really been out talking a lot outside of, like, playing Overwatch and stuff. Like, I talk to people all the time on there, but it's different when you're in person and talking to people. Like, I'll go to work, it's really loud and stuff, and it's hard to make conversation there, so it's a bit more difficult for me to pick up on my social skills and in turn my intuition. Trying to see how I could relate by applying what intuition I use to the conversation. I guess in a way it's kind of like intuition is very applicable to things like competitive titles.
Okay.
Since I did bring up Overwatch, like intuition, you need a lot of.
There's a different name for it when you're playing a title like Overwatch or Call of Duty or like
game sense.
Yeah, game sense. Mm-hmm. Like you just having a general awareness of what's going on and some level of pattern recognition.
Yeah. When you see,
it's such a huge advantage.
Yeah, when you see someone pick a certain character and you know perhaps what spots they're going to go onto the map, or like how they're going to hold a point, that's invaluable information in like a team-based competitive
for someone who doesn't even play Overwatch, right? Like you zoom out and it's like, okay, so there's 10 people. 5 are on one team and 5 are on the other team. If you've played enough matches of this particular game, you know generally where like the first 5 people on the enemy team are going to be, and generally where the 5 people on your team are going to be, because you know the objectively best positions. So like you don't even need to see where they go to know they're going there, and that's
right.
But then again, there is some correlation to like how well that pays off with luck, because they might not know what they're doing and they might go somewhere else. Or they might know what you think you know and intuit that they can go somewhere else.
You can only read into a person so much. Like half the time people pull moves that I don't even like predict. So
I think it's really cool because I have such a hard time figuring another skill that's quite so luck dependent. Because like intuition is a skill. It is something you need to practice heavily to pull off even a little bit. But it's really, like, I struggle to imagine another skill that's quite so luck dependent to utilize.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to predict what people are going to do, especially in a game where every character has a different function, and like, how much game sense do they have? What if they counter-predict you? It's about reading what actions they take and counteracting to them, or vice versa.
It's probably similar with stock.
Yeah.
I wonder if chess players are like that, but probably not, because chess is a perfect game and luck's not really a factor.
Mm-hmm. It's a very controlled environment. Overwatch is not.
Chess
Most
and
FPSs
like checkers and like controlled circumstances like that where everything is perfect. You can probably utilize intuition without much luck, but then again, you still have to be lucky in knowing what the person's up to for sure.
Yeah.
Because, like, at the end of the day, it's your best guess.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Intuition is educated guessing.
Interestingly enough, this came back to the scientific method. Like, isn't that just a hypothesis? Like, thinking, this might be how the world works, and then testing it. Is intuition the seed from which hypotheses grow?
This is too big brain for me to comprehend. Like, damn,
It's too big brain, huh?
it's too big brain.
All
My
right.
brain is swelling out of my skull.
You
from
know
the
what
amount
we
of
could do?
knowledge here. What?
We could go from big brain,
To small brain.
no, to big tit.
To big tit. Oh yeah. I got an indie game.
Let's
during
talk. Let's talk about the best 79 cents you can spend.
Yeah.
Not sponsored.
So,
Not sponsored.
Steam had a winter sale. Very good time. I got all of the Isaac DLC for $25.
That's not what
Binding
we're
of
talking
Isaac,
about.
all of that $25. But that's besides the point. I played the Vagrant. It's a game. It's one of the games ever.
It is in fact one of the games ever. It is like what? A Castlevania, like
It's a
Metroid style,
it's
like
kind of a-
RPG.
Yeah, it's kind of a Castlevania game.
You play as like. And this is why Big Tits was such a good segue.
Yeah. So Vivian is a runesmith, and basically,
Whoa! Back up there. You gotta tell them who Vivian is.
yeah. Okay, Vivian is this big titty woman.
Elf.
She's not an elf. She's a human.
I thought she had pointed ears.
Nope.
Oh, never mind then.
So she's on a ship at the beginning of the game, and she shipwrecks, and she has to go and essentially find out the secrets of the rune ward and stuff like that. I won't go into too much detail of that part because I don't want to spoil too much. I won't spoil the end of the game, the very end at least, but I'll explain most of it. So it plays a lot like a Metroidvania where you have a bunch of like different combos you can pull off, like heavy and light attacks. And honestly, the combat system itself, at least with Vivian, the enemies are a different story, but Vivian herself is very mechanically, like, complex. Like, there's so many, I think there's, what? I got to the end of the game, I got about 10 different combos I could implement, and you could do them in rapid succession.
You could do them in rapid succession.
Yeah, you could do them in rapid succession. And, damn it, my train of thought just kind of teetered off. Okay. You have this meter called Rage, where you can utilize it to do these combos, and it's pretty cool. I like doing combos with her. My main gripe with the combat part of the game is that it gets very repetitive. Most enemies are about the same. You slash through them, you kill them, you get like gold and mana. It's like woo, cool, but it doesn't get that complex.
For the record, in most games, mana's like a bar you deplete to cast spells and use abilities.
Yeah, in this game, it's an alternative currency that you use to kind of upgrade a skill tree, very similar to like Skyrim's skill tree. You have this center node called the Rune Warden node. You can upgrade it to level 10 to get like luck buffs, rage build-up buffs, and you have other spiraling trees coming out of it that upgrade like, you know, your base stats. It can upgrade your combos. It can upgrade like health drops, giving you more stuff. Money that's dropped gives you more money. All that stuff.
Basically, the reason I wanted to talk about the Vagrant is it's really funny that there's just like how many hours do you have in it?
To completely finish the game, it took me about 16 hours.
Yeah, it's a 16-hour campaign title for like it was 79 cents during the winter sales.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. I'm pretty sure it was made by less than 20 people. But it for what it is, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like 79 cents, you get an adventure that's pretty fun. Though I will say, going for full completion can get very obnoxious. There's certain items you only get one of in a playthrough. I know at near the end game, there's this place called the Dungeon of the Decayed, and there was a sword I got called like I think it was called like the Sword of the Bastard or Sword of the Deceptuous or whatever. Basically, it was a sword that did a fuck ton of damage, but it wasn't ranked at all. There's like your weapons can have like 5 ranks or whatever. And I was like, okay, this weapon's cool. I'm gonna rank it up, and I rank it up, and its damage goes from 800 to 100. So the more you rank it up, the worse it gets, and you can't unrank something. So it just turned into dog shit. So, and that's the only one I could get in the run.
That's funny as hell.
So like, there's certain things that can be a bit obnoxious.
I like that there's a sword that doesn't want to be upgraded. That makes me smile.
There's a sword that only does 1 damage.
Oh, cool. It does it like attack really fast?
It attacks like decently fast, but it is bad. It's just bad. Like I ranked it up to rank 5. It increases 1 damage per level. To put into perspective, the weapon you start out with, I'm pretty sure does like 50 damage.
Oofta.
So you can understand why I was a little bit unhappy with that weapon. I think it was called like the Bloody Moon or something. Yeah.
Oh, you can also get bikini armor.
You can get bikini armor. It's the best armor in the game. When it's rank 1, you only have 1 defense, but as you rank it up, it turns into the best armor. At rank 5, it gives you 150 defense.
It doesn't actually change what your character looks like either.
No, the armor in the game doesn't change your character's look at all. The weapon, like the sword that you get, changes the visuals. But even if you put on like mithril plating, Vivian is still going to be in the same bikini, which is ridiculous, but okay.
No, it's really fun because there's just a lot of game for fucking very cheap. And my roommate played it. You played it. I played a little bit.
He recommended it to me, and I saw it. It was pretty cool. Again, it's good, but there's certain things you gotta look over. Yeah, the combat gets repetitive. The story's a little weak.
It's a solid piece of gameplay.
Solid piece of gameplay. Is it a solid game? No, but if you're looking for something to beat over the weekend and you don't have a lot of money to spend, literally 79 cents. Go pick it up. Go try it out. It's a good time.
Actually, instead of doing that, you should listen to our podcast over and over and over again so that more people get recommended it.
That's a wonderful idea. But maybe while you're doing that, you could play like in the background and play the Vagrant. See? Knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but go play it.
We just thought it was cool. It's a good time. I thought it would be fun to talk about because
if you like Metroidvanias, try it out.
There's not a lot of super hardcore parkour, which is probably what separates it from like more Metroid and Castlevania-esque titles because it's not like super hard to get around.
No, I mean there's most of it is just like, going across a few platforms and stuff. There are some parts where you have to climb vertically, and I'll be honest, the actual like platforming is a little stupid.
It looked just a little sketchy.
It's a little sketchy. The hitboxes are a bit wonky on some platforms, but I've seen a lot worse.
Honestly,
like, a lot worse.
It's like a really solid indie title for as cheap as it is.
For real. I mean, without going over the complete story and stuff, I'm not going to make this The Vagrant episode. But I think it was a cool include.
It was. I thought it would be fun to talk about.
Well, beyond that, that's our main topics for now. What do you want to...
That is our main topic. So usually when we end a podcast, we like to wrap things up with a couple funny things that we thought would be neat to touch on.
Yeah.
You had one that's a bit of a hot take, and
hot take. And I'm gonna get a lot of shit because the thing is, okay, I was talking about Overwatch.
There's
earlier,
no easy way to say this. He mained one of the most broken characters in the game, and they nerfed him, and now he is sad.
I'm a little sad, but I think I have at least decent reasoning to still like him. Even in his nerf state, I still like to play him. He's just not a good competitive pick. So I talked about Overwatch earlier. That's the reason why I've been calling back to it, is because I've been playing a lot of comp recently. And I think it was last week, they nerfed Roadhog. They nerfed him.
Roadhog is this like big like chunk of a character, and he like inhales radiation to heal himself.
This fat fuck had a scrap gun, a scrap hook, in his vape, his radiation vape. He just hit that shit, 350 HP.
That's a lot.
Bro was a walking
for scale. That's a lot. He has the most health in the game, and he has the most self-healing in the game.
So, to not go too deep into his kit, basically what the issue was that he was one-shotting characters like outside of tanks, things like the DPS and the supports. They'd get hooked. He'd shoot them in the head, walk forward, melee them, they die instantly. There's no time to react, really, outside of, like, certain characters. Like, a Moira could get away. Anyone with, like, an evasive ability could get away, but for the most part, if you got hooked, you're dead.
And since we went from Overwatch 1 to 2, they took a lot of hard, like, crowd control abilities, like stuff that would just stun or freeze or kill you without you having any time to react or decision making. They took a lot of them out of the game, and they kept Roadhogs in because that's the
part of
only
his
thing
kit.
he does.
That's a core part of his kit. And the thing is, along with that, we've gone from a 6v6 format to a 5v5. So those, like, just random solo flank picks mean so much more.
They win team fights now.
They win team fights. So, you know what they did? They took away his one-shot potential. Chain Hook does 5 damage instead of 30 on impact. And his pellet damage went from 6.6 to 6. Now, that's not to say he hasn't gotten some buffs. He does do a little bit better against tanks since he has faster reload speed. He has an extra bullet in the chamber. He's a little bit better against tanks.
He's better at being a tank and worse at just killing people for no reason.
But, like, I've been playing with him recently. Honestly, I hate saying it, but, like, right next to Doomfist, he feels like a little bit of a throw pick. At least in comp.
That's ouch. I don't know about that. I think he's still going to be in a good spot in the meta.
He's okay.
He can't be worse than Doomfist.
I'm not saying he's worse than Doomfist.
Or Junker Queen.
Junker Queen is...
She was, like, very obnoxious on launch, and then they nerfed her, and now she's, like, basically unplayable in lower ranks.
She does okay.
She does all right the higher up you get.
Mm-hmm.
She's just hard to use, I guess.
I think them giving her a bigger hitbox really kind of killed her. But Roadhog just... The thing is that was his whole shtick. Like, outside of his random one-shots, he doesn't do very good. Like, he's just a fat, worse Reaper at this point. Like, he has to muzzle snout you to, like, do anything meaningful, but you could just play Reaper, who does a better job. Granted, Reaper isn't the best in the current meta, but Roadhog is just him, but more health, essentially. And also a CC ability.
So I hate to break it to you, but we're probably going over time on the Roadhog segment there.
I know.
Passionate about the subject.
So passionate.
They nerfed your main, man. They nerfed your
him.
main.
I've been playing him since the release of Overwatch 1. Well, Season 3, I believe. Yeah, Season 3 of Overwatch 1. I loved him.
I mean...
I still play him in, like, deathmatch and quick play, because I'm just that way. Evil.
I mean, I'm sure as things continue, they'll figure ways to make them more viable. Like, they really hate killing characters' viability, unless you're Symmetra. Moving on.
We don't want to talk about Sim.
All right. Let's see. My miscellaneous. What was it again? Oh yeah, I got stuck in a ditch.
Yeah. How'd that happen?
So we live in an area where it snows in the wintertime.
No shit.
And there was a lot of snow on the road, and my girlfriend was driving, and the car started sliding, and we slid into a ditch.
Huh. So, how'd that go? How long did you stay there?
Well, we were there for almost 2 hours, and it was an interesting, like, very adult experience that I wasn't necessarily prepared for, but I'm happy I went through. You know? We kind of just hung out. Eventually, we called the tow place, and they sent a guy out, and it was... what they called it was a pull job.
Uh-huh.
And it was $20 because it was a weekday. They were still in office.
Yeah. Happened at a good time.
It happened at a good time. So the guy came out, and naturally, me and my girlfriend gave her the wrong directions. So it took him twice as long to get there.
Great. They should have charged you extra.
It's okay. I paid him $40 instead of 20.
Okay, continue.
We got stuck in a ditch for 2 hours.
It's great. I guess.
Let's see if you're survival tips, guys.
Okay, I didn't see this coming. Survival tip moment.
Keep the engine running and the heater on. And if it looks like if your car doesn't idle well, or it looks like you're gonna run out of gas, make sure you have blankets or any way to keep warm. Remember that your toes, fingers, and nose go numb first.
Mm-hmm. So,
and,
just bundle up if you don't have a lot of gas.
And if you the way the road laws work, it will based on the state you're in. I don't want to give legal advice. I'm in no way qualified to give legal advice. Basically, if it comes down to you getting hypothermia or abandoning your vehicle, abandon your vehicle and call someone in the morning. See if you can get out of there first if there's an issue.
Surprisingly, a lot of people just, if they end up getting stranded and they don't have a way to just get their car out of there, they'll just leave it in the ditch, pick it up in a few days' time, usually when the snow melts. But the more unlucky people will end up having to get it out by a tow.
Well, yeah. And also, the mud gets really bad here once the snow melts, so sometimes that's a bad idea because you'll just, like, get
It'll
stuck
just
in the mud.
bury itself
in the mud.
Sucks.
Oofda. Oofda.
Oofda. So,
anything else you'd like to add to the miscellaneous segment on the Coping Madmen podcast?
you know, I've got so many words to say about my boy Road, but I think I could save that for a different time. We could have like a different episode where we talk about that.
Ooh, we could have an Overwatch episode.
We could have an Overwatch episode. We will drive away your audience.
Sorry, not
guys.
any worse
We're
than
nerds.
Overwatch drove its audience away.
Oh, shit, you right. You right. All right, well, I think we can just call it there. That's been episode 3, guys.
Yeah, hey, thanks for tuning in, and come back. What's the name of our podcast again?
What was it?
It's Complimentary...
Coping Madmen?
I said coping.
Coping Madmen?
Although we are also comping.
We are coping madmen. We are comping. We are comping.
We're
No
comping
Rodog,
for
but
something.
We're comping. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been Complimentary Mania. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.